Welcome. I'm Carrie Kopnick, and I serve the Chaplaincy Institute as our community minister, and I'm so glad you joined us. ChI Talks is a monthly event that we have, like TED Talks, ChI Talks, and where we explore facets of spirituality through an interfaith lens with the ChI community. This happens every month on the third Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, and I'm hoping that we have movement ministry next month. So mark your calendars, and we'll hear about clergy in Minnesota. We're recording our session today, so if you don't want to be on camera, just turn off your video and your image won't appear in the recording. And note, we will have time at the end for questions, but I think Barrington's also going to have kind of a free-flowing time. So please feel free to bring your whole self here. A little bit about us. We are an interfaith and interspiritual seminary preparing spiritual leaders to meet this moment in history. At ChI, students are formed not only through the academic study of world religions, but through deep personal transformation and practical training for real-world service. Our graduates serve as chaplains in hospitals, hospices, prisons, corporations, disaster zones, the military, activist spaces, and environmental justice movements. We also train spiritual directors who walk alongside others as compassionate companions in times of growth and grief and discernment. The ChI Interfaith Community is our ordaining and endorsing body recognized by the Association of Professional Chaplains. For more than 26 years, our clergy have been serving across the globe, embodying interfaith commitment to justice, healing, and sacred belonging. We are proud to be the oldest interfaith seminary in the United States and to continue meeting and evolving and being here in the contemporary spiritual needs as the world changes. At ChI, we are forming leaders who can lead and stand at the intersections of faith, justice, and care. I have a little bit of information about things that are coming up here at ChI, and if you'll excuse me, I'm still getting used to my new computer setup. There we go. I'm going to share my screen for just a moment here. We have a couple of things coming up, and we have a new Spirit and Study series that's happening on single 3-hour intensives. The next one is Sunday, March 15th from 1 to 4, Spiritual Care for Neurodivergent Individuals with Reverend Wilderness Rose Harris, who is an expert in the field. I'll put a link in the chat to register for that or to learn more. We have open courses coming up. There's Foundations in Sacred Justice, very timely in this moment. April 18th and 19th, but work is beginning soon. So this is one that you should register for soon if you'd like to take that one. There's Foundations of Interfaith Ministry to learn more about how ministry moves in the world beyond and among faith. We have Eco Ministry, May 30th and 31st. And then our next open house is Tuesday, March 3rd. I hope you'll stop by and join us for all those. And as I mentioned, there's another ChI Talk coming up too. I'll put all those links in the chat. And now a little bit about today's speaker. Take a moment to introduce him. Reverend Barrington Walker Jr. was born in Kingston, Jamaica, and raised in New York City tri-state area in a single-parent, Christian-based household. His early spiritual awareness emerged through what he describes as the path of a mystic nomad, shaped by cultural, religious, and societal inheritance. Barrington currently resides in Riverdale, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. His journey has woven together experience across multiple fields, culminating in his work as a UII holistic coach, chaplain, founder of the CenteRe, and more. Through his work, he offers physical, psychological, and metaphysical services informed by his background in physical fitness, psychological counseling, and metaphysical engagement. Barrington's ministerial formation arose from a call to live as his authentic self and to guide others in doing the same, supporting wholeness, agency, and metaphysically aligned leadership along the center. Now, before I turn it over to Barrington, I want to invite us to just ground into this sacred circle, this sacred screens in front of us, and connect beyond time and space here in this world. And hand on your chest, over your heart, on your belly. And if it's available to you, just take a couple of good breaths. If you're coming from a busy day or maybe a fraught time, invite your soul to catch up with your body and sit here together in our sacred circle. And let us connect our energy out beyond time and space, across the squares and across this world. All right, friends, I'm going to light a candle and then I'll turn it over to Barrington. As I always say, I light this to remind us that the divine is with us in all we do. Great. Thank you, friends. All right, I turn it over to you, beloved Reverend Barrington.
Thank you, Kari, and welcome everyone. So nice to see you all here today. It is a joy to be in this moment, to be talking to all of you wonderful people from across the globe, I will say. And not that I know exactly if we are international in this space, but I'm going to assume so, if not by physical location, but by some type of influence or love or embrace of all of the wonderful aspects of who we are as people on this global community. It is very, very, very honoring to see those of you who I've shared my journey with during my process of ministerial formation at the Chaplaincy Institute. And I am forever overjoyed and filled with abundance to meet the new faces that are also a part of this community that I have yet had the opportunity to embrace. I thank you all for being here today and taking the time out to hear about my story, my journey, and also just to take the time to reconnect from wherever it is we may be chiming in on this Zoom network tonight. There's so many things that I can say about my journey, about where I am today, where I came from, and all of the twists and turns up and down the mountains and through the different valleys and across the oceans to get to this point, to be here, to talk about this ministry, this entrepreneurial ministry that I have named the Center. I think the most important part of what I want to say about my ministry is that it was largely influenced by the spirits, the hearts, the minds, the souls, the ideas, and all of the actions that were taken during my time of formation during the Interfaith Studies program. During the years, this was about 2017, 2018. And a lot of the formation of what the center is today was as a direct result of the embrace and the love and the molding and the influence that I received, and also had the experience of gifting during that experience of the interfaith studies with the Chaplaincy Institute community. But what's even more so marvelous about it is that the ministry continued to mold and take shape and grow and be informed by the connections that I held throughout the times after the Chaplaincy Institute. And believe it or not, just that ever present spirit, that ever present being, that ever present ChI of the Chaplaincy Institute and the Chaplaincy Institute communities continue to inform and to continue to fill life into the work that resulted in this ministry, the center. And I say all that to kind of ground us in where I would hope would be a good point to open up the floor for any other questions or thoughts of curiosity around myself, my ministry, my journey. That it would be very important to name that it is the spirit of the intentionality. It is the spirit of the internationality. It is the spirit of the interfaith movement uh, that I experience primarily through the Chaplaincy Institute, although it may be present in other places and spaces in the world. But as far as the collective embodiment of the spirit of what I wanted my ministry to be, I found that in the Chaplaincy Institute. And so largely the center is ChI. The center is built out of the essence of ChI. And the center, in my reflection of ChI, is also an entity that has no bounds, that has the ability to move through the world in a way that is nourishing and connective for all things. And in reflecting in that power, especially with looking at a lot of the issues in, environmental climate justice and social justice and, all of the different areas that we kind of birth our own individual ministries out of. ChI is that place, that cohesive space where all of that energy, all that goodness, all that essence that I want to see centered in the world, that my ministry works to see centered in the world, has a place and a structure and a system of sustainability to proliferate that throughout time, to connect a lot of the ways in which we may lose traction, or we may lose resource, or we may lose connection with our strengths and our abilities that allow us as human beings to transcend throughout time. Um, Not just those of us who have, but everyone, by being connected and being centered in this ministry. So I think that that's kind of where I would like to open up and see if there's any questions, any curiosities that anyone would like to ask for further elaborations or any kind of information.
Anne Marie, I see your hand. Let's see what you
I
got to
thought
say.
just for old time's sake, I'd speak first. There's a lot of my former classmates here. It's fabulous. Reverend Walker, could you talk a little bit about the more tangible aspects of the center, such as the housing and the cycles that you go through, or whatever you called it? It's fascinating. Could you explain some of that to us, please?
Thank you, Reverend Anne Marie. I would love to elaborate on those topics. So the center and the work that I do in the center are both one and the same. Um, Going through my ministerial formation, it was really apparent through to me that I had the ability to make a difference in the world for not only myself, but also other individuals who could benefit from my story, benefit from my talents, benefit from my experiences. And that made me really take a look at where I was presently, where I was going in my future, but more importantly, my past, like the path that I traveled to get to where I am. And it made me think like it's completely possible that someone else could end up coming down this road. Some may be more well off or less well off than I was in traveling and navigating this journey. And just like a lot of the journey myself, there was a lot of self exploration. There wasn't really a lot of guidance. There wasn't really a lot of support. to kind of deal with a lot of the challenges along the way. And so I said, what more can I do but to be a guide for someone along a journey that I've walked, especially with the eclecticity of my experiences, the knowledge that I have come to gain and share throughout different connections, throughout my path and throughout life. I had created myself to be a hub of information, a hub of resource. And as a nomad, having to travel from one place to the next, a lot of the times, either gaining resources or losing resources, both people and material in nature. It can become a very weary process. There can be a lot of loss in handling the journey and navigating the journey, especially if you don't have a lot of support and help, or even resources to overcome certain challenges. It can take its toll. And one of those major resources of challenges for me along my journey was housing. There was periods of time where I was living with my own biological family. There were periods of times that I was not. There was periods of times when I was housed. There was periods and times when I was not. There was periods and times where I felt completely unrooted, floating in just the ethers of life, navigating the journey, depending on which way the wind blew, and then became the period where I was grounded. And that was a major turning point for me along my journey, especially in my ministerial formation and my journey with ChI, is to be able to finally be grounded somewhere. And so with reflecting on that experience of life in my journey and looking back and saying, you know what, there have been nomads before me. There have been nomads around me. There will be nomads, that come after me. Even just a lot of the history of many different people and civilizations involve some type of migration, or change of location. And so I think that being able to get myself to a position to purchase my first home, and make a decision that I was going to utilize this resource now that I've acquired for myself, this resource now that I have control over, how it's utilized, that I make an intentional choice to utilize it in a way that makes a difference in the world, utilize it in a way that makes someone else's journey a lot more bearable, someone else's journey with a lot less heaviness, a lot less hardship, um, and constructed in a way that it can be accessible on a holistic spectrum. And I think that was the biggest part about, and the most common element in all of the work that I do in the center, all of the work that I do in community ministry, is that holistic element, right? For me, it's synonymous to the universal element, where there is a way and there is a space for any and all things in this convergence of time, this convergence of matter. At some point in time, everything and everyone needs, shelter and a roof over its head, somewhere to call home, a place to be with family, somewhere to root down to, even just cultivate a sense of personal identity, where it's like, okay, I live in this part of the world. I do these things. These are my habits. These are my aspirations. These are the resources. I am a product of this environment, this ecosystem. To be able to even engage with other people, and then whether or not they contribute something to the greater world and society. Okay. And I say it like that because, sometimes we come to an idea that, what is for one person is for everyone. And a part of holistic ministry is also understanding that that is not always the case, that sometimes there are things that are for a large amount of people that is not for someone or some folks. But still, how do we provide a holistic service to be universal, to really honor the worth of everything and everyone? And for me, that was making my own challenge and my own struggles a instrument and a resource to offer to others to help them. And so operating my ministry out of this house that I bought and being able to provide low income housing for those individuals who may not be able to afford what the economy is requiring of them, they still too deserve to be able to live somewhere. And if they do aspire to be able to pay for these things, they should also have the opportunity to contribute what they can, and not something that is inflated based on the economy, but just meeting them exactly where they are at that point in time in their life. So that is the tangible, one of the tangible aspects of the center.
So thank you. I want to say, so what does it look like? What does so people, you have people in your, but you also work with people outside. There's a program I think you take people through. Can you tell us a little bit more about that too? I'm sorry, I jumped on everybody, but I know a little bit about this, so I want to be sure we hear this.
And Reverend Kari, thank you for asking that question next. It is going to touch base on another portion of the question that Reverend Anne Marie asked. Reverend Anne Marie brought up the cycles, or what I refer to as spheres. I have a program that is very similar to the Interfaith Studies program. For those of you who took the Interfaith Studies program with me, the 12-month cycle of going through, in the Interfaith Studies program, it was the different religious groupings and cultures, but with my program, it's based in astrology, and it uses astrology as kind of a container, a format, a tool to navigate the human experience in these aspects, these 12 aspects of human experience, based on each individual. And it has different aspects of like peer coaching, community engagement, where folks can take that centering of themselves that they experience while going through the program in conjunction with the concepts of astrology as it is foretold in these spheres, houses, circles of human experience, and allows you basically just to, how I like to say, lay yourself on the table, right? Just lay on the table. Where's the wine? Where's all of the poultry? Where's the vegetables? Where's the carbs? And just really allow you to put yourself out on this framework and take a moment to just reflect on the different components of your life and how things are showing up, to give you sense of clarity, to give you a sense of acknowledgement. It also can be used to create different narratives for yourselves with connecting with different people. It can be used as a tool for your own personal development. And my program utilizes this format, and myself in partner with my clients to navigate this journey through these 12 spheres, and really just kind of similar to walking a labyrinth, or just sitting on a merry-go-round or riding a Ferris wheel. kind of just run around the circle or just take your own pace, walking around the circle and taking a reflective look at the aspects of your life in a way that I feel really helps people to distinguish what's working well for them. That's one of the questions that we usually talk about, or topics we talk about in the program, with what's going well as the challenges that are taking place in any of the things that you may be engaging with on the way, and finding different tools, finding different solutions, bringing in different bouts of informations, maybe different practices, to help facilitate breakthrough, help facilitate healing, help facilitate whatever it is that the client, the person who is engaging with this program, with this modality, wants to engage, because it's all in the power of the person, right? You have your life, you're partnering with someone to get some objective looks at your life, and with looking at the wider scale of all of the things that are available to us in our human experience, what can we do, or how can we help facilitate a lot of, or a better sense of what I call is our holistic alignment, which is when on the physical, the psychological, and the metaphysical planes of our existence, we are held upright in those different avenues, those different aspects, as they overlap and inform and interchange all kinds of experience and informations and influence with one another, to be aligned in that as we move through time, as we're asking all of these larger questions around our own purpose and meaning in the world, as well as things that are happening to people and things that we care about, and even just the larger questions around life.
I'll hold myself back. And so thank you, Barrington. I appreciate that. But who else has a question or curiosity about the program or the call to entrepreneurial ministry, whatever? Oh, I saw Jim and Channing at the same time.
Channing.
Oh, Channing first.
Okay. Hi, Barrington.
Hi, Channing.
Long time no see. I'm one of the original people that was with you back in 2017 and 18.
Yes.
Awesome. You've been to my house and everything. So I'm so proud of you. You've made great progress. And I think I watched you get ordained on Zoom. So I was very proud of you. So I guess I'm really pretty interested because I'm really so excited what you're doing, because it's very you. It's very entrepreneurial. And so I think that that opens up the door for any of us to create things in a ministry sense. You know, we're not restricted to a church or to a council or anything like that. It all is in our hearts. And so that's why I'm relating to you. You're starting something that's very unique. And I want to just tell you how proud I am proud I am of you for doing that. But could you give us an example without naming names? We don't know any, it's not revealing confidential stuff. But could you give us an example of a person who has come to you, who has spent some time at your center, and then talk about what kind of transformation that person has gone through? I mean, just pick one.
Yes, Channing.
Just pick one person. Just one person.
And I'm so grateful for the question, and even just the way that it was framed in the ask, because it all fits into kind of what's going on right now. So I currently have a resident who lives here at the center, which is here in Riverdale, Georgia. Now, this individual was having challenges with navigating complexities of our economy, and it was doing so by themselves, not really being engaged or immersed in a supportive environment, have it be family, have it be friends, have it be social networks. and really just dug into a space of, I want to call it adversity. I'm going to call it adversity, a really condensed space of adversity where it was starting to wear away at their subjective well-being, right? Their overall sense of joy and positivity and possibility, and expression and fulfillment in just daily life. And so this individual and I have known each other for quite some years, thankfully, to really be able to have an insight into the person's character as well as the challenges that are present for them while navigating the complexities that they're navigating. And so I was able to offer that person a option, a way to create more spaciousness in their situation, to be able to take the time that they needed to be able to deal with some of the maybe psychological weight of being in that position in their life and not really having everything figured out as far as which way to go, while still just trying to carry the weight of it all on their shoulders. So being able to provide them a space where, one, they were moving from being in somewhat of isolation, not really having anyone to reach out to talk to about anything, that was very important and meaningful to them, that wasn't them fulfilling their responsibility out in the world at work, and being a citizen of society, but also just being able to have the time to talk about things that are important to them, things that they want to figure out, and having somebody to kind of shoulder a lot of the weight of other responsibilities. For example, being a resident here at the center, that gives my residents kind of unfettered access to me, and being a person that is primarily in a space of supporting other people to be able to stand on their feet and get through whatever aspect of their journey they're trying to get through, to be there to support them along. That's a really big thing for individuals who are navigating journeys solo, especially journeys that they don't really have, or there's not really anyone there to guide them and help them figure things out and get a lot around a lot of the traps and things that might be in the way to navigating that journey. But also just being in a different environment, moving from one state to the next can have a very drastic effect on your psychology. It can have a drastic effect on your social life. It can have a drastic effect on your health, and that can be seen in a bad way, but it could also be seen as a good thing. It could be a life promoting. And as a nomad myself, I understand and I understood the challenge in moving from one place to the next and trying to find yourself in those communities and resources. So having had made the journey here myself to be in the Atlanta metro area, where there has been a lot of, there's a very prominent, huge community as far as successful minorities. And so being able to be here and have this roof over a head, a place to root down, the opportunity to afford a meaningful living of life, to be able to have a roof over your head and maybe engage in work or ambitions that you wouldn't be able to engage with because you're too busy working the 9 to 5 that's taking all of your time, and or you're unemployed or unhoused, and you don't have any friends or family there to help get you through hard times while you're trying to navigate the complexities. So just being here and being able to have that unfettered access to me, to have that, somebody that you can call in the middle of the night if your car breaks down and you need someone to come help, if your AAA or anything like that isn't working. And those small little things that a lot of us may not look at as being really significant when you're navigating a journey by yourself, and when you find yourself to be on the outskirt of your community or the black sheep of your family, or any of the things that make you different, any of the things that make you not fit into, the community that you come from, can cause a really big challenge and burden for you as a solo journeyer. And so being here and having the center and building it out in a way, really focusing on primarily being able to provide to folks on an individual basis, because at one point in time we've all navigated one or more of those complexities, right? At some point in time the money wasn't where it needed it to be. At some point in time somebody wasn't there that we wished would have been there. And then there's times when we, do things together, but then there's other times where we do them alone. So uh, these are some of the benefits and some of the ways that I have been able to help my resident, as well as Kari was saying, um, folks who are not residents. I do as much as I can. Individuals who are able to be here physically will more than likely be able to get a lot more out of me, just because they're, here in person and have more unfettered access versus someone who I might be a coach or a chaplain for on the phone, or on Zoom, that's more scheduled, or if it's a free flowing call or request, it's a kind of a little bit more challenging to be available to them. But I do have clients that I provide the same kind of coaching, the same kind of access to resource. This location remains as an access to resource for them. Whether it is they needed a place to just get away from kind of the hecticness of their life, or the struggles of the hardships of their life, or maybe they wanted to take part in low income or affordable housing, even if they might not qualify for it. I find that a lot of the times where people are able to get on their feet financially because they had somebody that provided them a little bit more cushion than the average person, so they had a little bit more to do with. And I remember just along in my journey that those were the things that allowed me to be where I am and get to where I am today. You guys were the people that I was able to call in the middle of the night. You were the community that I went out to eat with instead of going right back home and cellaring into my depression. These are the essences of the small things that make up the difference, if not for the person that has the family, if not for the person that has the job, if not for the person that has the community, but the underdog, that solo individual, or that individual doing a solo period of their time, where it seems very barren. These are the jewels for the individual that then translate to being for the partners and for the community.
Jim, I think you were next, and then Russ.
You pretty much answered my question, but I'm just curious as to how you came to the phrase entrepreneurial ministry. There's two words that we don't often see juxtaposed one after the other. And I'm assuming, I don't want to make assumptions, so but I'm sharing you my assumption is you're helping people be entrepreneurs and find means of self-support in the long run. with the immediate offering of a roof over a house, over a head, as you've said. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, and I actually love the way that you phrased it because the way you phrase it, entrepreneurial ministry, and then helping people be entrepreneurs. There's so much richness in that space, and I want to be able to really put a staple on that. The entrepreneurial idea or the concept of entrepreneurship, in my reflection, is you as a person going out and doing something that creates some type of business or social interest, which other people will take part in, right? The main component of that is that individual. First and foremost, before everything else, is that individual. So when you think about developing an entrepreneurial ministry, it begins with developing you. It begins with developing the tip of that sphere. So the work that I do is rooted in the development of the person as their own self, the person as their own entity, and then we can then look at, is this a thing of adding the CEO business coding onto this, or is this just the way that the person is and moves through the world in life?
Great description. Thanks, Barrington.
I
Sounds
also
awesome.
think that, oh, sorry, Jim, I step on you.
No, I'm done.
I also think that entrepreneurial ministry is I'm not working in a hospital, I'm not working in a prison. I'm I'm creating my own ministry from this dream or this vision or this download. I know that you get those downloads, Barrington, and it kind of comes in like, all right, here's what I am to do. And it can be scary, right? Because there's no insurance package when you're creating your own thing. So, and Jim, I think you and Megan have done entrepreneurial ministry for a long time. You've been your own thing. So I'm going to be quiet again now. Any follow up on that, Barrington?
Yes, exactly that. And Jim and Megan were both very big inspirations and supports in the development of the center in my ministry. During the interfaith studies program, I really connected with spiritual psychology. And I would say it more in a twofold kind of way. One, because my undergraduate is in psychology. And two, my cosmology is rooted very deeply in astrology, which the Kabbalah works almost hand in hand with astrology. So really coming into education of um, a really structured education of Judaism and then mystical Judaism, and then going into spiritual psychology one and two during the interfaith studies really, really informed both the ministry that I wanted to do, but also it gave me a really strong blueprint of what that could look like with having Jim and Megan doing the work that they were already doing.
I apologize for the insider speak there too. I put the link, and I'll put this in the follow up too. I put the links for Jim's ministry and Megan's ministry in the chat, and so these are longtime faculty and leaders here at ChI. So apologize for pretending we all know exactly what I'm talking about. Is it Smadar?
Hi.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll let Russ
yeah,
go next. Then after that.
I am very interested in the whole concept of entrepreneurial ministry. I haven't taken any courses at ChI, but I also got a download and um so I'm kind of interested in like how did you make this a reality, right? Like the nuts and bolts. Like in order to give, you have to receive, like in order to be able to offer, you have to have these things to offer. And then also just curious about boundaries. I mean, if you're like living with people you serve, like just how do you like navigate all these flows of giving and receiving?
Thank you for the question. And it's Smadar.
Hmm.
All right. Thank you for the question. Um, the thing about entrepreneurial ministry, and yes, everything that you asked is true. You know, you got to have the nuts and bolts and the this and that. A lot of that comes to fruition throughout the process, I believe, of actually doing the work. Or at least I would recommend to allow those to come to fruition in the process of doing the work. Because the thing about an entrepreneurial ministry is that you are the ministry, that the spark of that ministry, like the seeds of all of the vegetations that we have, that even is our planet in this universe, had all of the DNA and all of the parts and all of the things that it needed when it was planted as the seed, and it just grew into that. So with an entrepreneurial ministry, it's kind of going to be the same thing, right? And your main tenets of that is the entrepreneurship. What is it that you as the individual or your ministry, your entity, if you want to take it to that level, as an entity, what is it that it is meant to be in its existence, in its engagement, in its um, place in life, and then dressing it up accordingly. And then the other side of it is the ministry, right? So when I would think that a lot of people have different perspectives of what ministry is and what ministry means. And so definitely kind of solidifying yourself in what ministry means to you, what that looks like for you, and then allowing that entrepreneurship to kind of take ministry as a mantle, right? So this is what I'm going to do. This is what my organization is going to do. And we're going to do it in the fashion of ministry. And that's kind of my understanding or my conceptualization around um, how I informed the founding and the growth of my ministry to be really be rooted in expressing my whole self, the journey of expressing my whole self, creating a system, creating a structure that kind of allows other folks to go through that process and be there to help steward them through it. And I think that the major aspect that created it as a ministry is being there to help folks get through it and the ways in which we make that available. Now, is this is some a service that I offer to people only if they can pay for it? Is this a service that I offer to people who can't pay for it? Is this something that I kind of just breathe out in the ways that I would as a chaplain or minister? I think those are the things that makes it a ministry. And the entrepreneurship is just you or the idea itself leading the charge along the way.
I think Russ was next, and I want to say Barrington still has a job. This isn't how he makes his money. so, so there's a, sometimes you got to do both for a while. Although he's looking at all kinds of stuff that I won't talk about. So, yeah, yeah, because it's a process, right? And I see the question in the chat, and I'll answer that. And then we'll have Russ, and then Fanning, and then it's pretty much time. So, Russ.
No, we can't hear you, Russ.
I think sometimes techie guys have too many things plugged in, Russ. I don't know. One microphone and another. I don't know. I still can't. Yeah.
Russ, your microphone's on your head.
Oh, yeah. Your microphone's up. I don't know if that matters.
No, that's not it. No, I'm
Okay.
trying
There
to
you go. We hear you now.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So my question is, are you using social media to present and promote your services, your program? If so, how? I've been doing Substack for several years, but that's not really promoting my ministry, my wedding ministry. I've got a website up, but are you doing TikTok? You doing Instagram? Just what are you doing? Is it working for you? What are your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, thank you, Russ, for that question. Thank you for that so much. It's the funny thing about it is no, I'm not really utilizing social media, and it's kind of there's many different reasons why. But it all really boils down to that's just not where like the capacity of my ministry is to be kind of just out there in the social spaces and possibly bringing in that kind of traffic. We're getting up to that point where hey, we're ready to switch over the caseload so that it's more of this ministry and less of the 9 to 5. And so, with not really being in a space of readiness to take on that influx of work, I have not been using social media to entice that kind of influx of possibilities of clientele. However, with the word of mouth um, marketing system, I found that it's been very instrumental in being able to retain a lot of control over the influx of potential clients that I have at any given one point in time, but also managing the workload that will come from the shifts and changes of life. Um, One of the major aspects of the formation of my ministry was reflecting on the resources that um, people who do ministry need to have to be sustained in their work. So sustainability is a big component of anything that I do. If it's not able to be done in a way that's sustainable, um, I want to look at that and try not to move into a space that will cause that unbalance just because right now it's primarily just me. Now, there were other individuals that I had on a team that we can come together and then hold and work with that influx of both possibly new clients, but also engagement. There's an aspect of engagement going back out to opening yourself and asking yourself for clients. If I had the capacity to carry and navigate all of those spaces at this point in time, then I would be doing that. Because I believe social media marketing still requires some work. It's not just you put this out and you post it one time and all of a sudden it's just like consistently coming to you. Um, and so I'm navigating those different avenues of expanding my ministry and expanding my business as best as I can with the resources that I have available, taking one step at a time. But this year was the first year that I started looking into things like um, being able to be found on voice search as well as Google presence. So I have a company that I'm working with, Apex Media Solutions, um, that I'm now paying basically as a vendor to manage that social media presence and also looking at creating a website. So I think it just depends, like Russ, wherever you are in your ministry, in your business, if you have the capacity to utilize tools, I would utilize them just because there's a lot of different other spaces within your ministry, within your business, within the work that you do that may need some work. And you might just not be able to get to them at that point in time, but you can utilize and focus on the things that you can, and hopefully those things will bring more opportunities to expand into different avenues. And with social media being really prominent in time and space right now, um, talking about like COVID and talking about, everything with our economic climate, with people being able to have jobs or jobs being very techy or online and things like that. And a lot of the technological advances of our civilizations as people are pushing us more to be online or at least have online engagement, especially with, generations of human beings who are more focused on technology and things. If those are the audiences that you want to reach, then I would say it would be very important to be utilizing that social media tool. But if you're someone who's more working with folks who are not really on the computer, on the internet, they're more in the community, engaging with people and things, I think word of mouth would be the direction to go. Or even just physical flyers and um, just um, just like connecting yourself with organizations that people come to, like coming on and doing ChI talks, or a lot of the times when I'm going to do work out in the community, I'll go to Unitarian Universalist communities and engage with their folks and get involved with the work that they're doing and be able to offer myself in certain ways that'll help to bridge gaps in communities. And maybe even some of these people seen my flyer on social media or something, but there's just not that personal connection or some other element of familiarity that they needed to really move forward with working with you. So that's what I would say about social media and its utilization in your ministry.
I do know of somebody, if that's really something people are interested in, who leads a marketing your spiritual direction practice, which could expand to ministry. And I'm happy to connect you with that. If just reply to the email that comes after this, because that's a really good. It's a 6-week arc of a program. All right, Channing, but quick, because then we gotta close. Because I hate to make people go. You know,
Well, I just want to just offer an insight. Father Thomas Bonacci was the one who gave me my charge when I was ordained. And he and I had a very close relationship during my practicum and actually after that. And one of the things that he told me was, he said, whether you're ordained or not, your interfaith work is with every human being that you meet. You don't have to have a ministry. You don't have to have a spiritual direction practice. It's you that attracts people. And when you're meeting people in the grocery store or, at Target at your work, it's you who has the ability to attract people, and you can then develop that relationship with them in a practical sense, maybe through your center or maybe not through your center. So I've taken that at heart, and I live in a retirement community. So my audience is people from 55 to over 100. So I'm really focused on people who are going through the aging process. You're focused on people who are trying to figure out life in this society right now, who are probably younger, of all backgrounds. So I would say just understand who the people are that you think would be interested in what you're doing, and just make relationships everywhere you go, everywhere you go. And that is actually more effective than advertising on social media. I don't advertise on Facebook, but I put messages out there. They're spiritual messages, so people know who I am and what I stand for. So that would just be my advice from Father Tom: is wherever you go, everybody is your client.
thank you.
Yes.
Love that. It's all ministry. It's all ministry. All right, friends. I am going to put all of the links that I talked about at the beginning for the open course and the open house and the spirit and study class, and then also the way to make an appointment with Barrington. And if you want to do that, it'll be in the follow-up email too. And then I want to just invite us to kind of reach back out in this circle, put our hands up if we want to, and say, here we are, and send all of our love to this circle, people in this circle, and the next ring out, those we love, our spiritual communities, out farther, people we don't know, animals of the earth, and then the whole universe, because we are one. We are connected. And it is such a blessing to be together.
Amen.
I'm going to invite us to unmute and say thank you to Reverend Barrington. And I'll stay on for just a minute.
Really good to see you, Barrington.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all for
you.
being
All the best.
here.
All the best.
Thank you.